Hello, my name is Brant Hunt. My channel is Discerning What is True, and I'm doing a conversation with Phil Langdon today. Today is the 29th day of April 2024, and I'm going to ask him some questions today that have been probing in my own mind about different issues, and so I want to welcome you all here. And if you do have questions, I ask that you do. I think the best thing to do is to wait till the end of the program and write those in what I would call in large print, so it'll be easier for me to see. And then we can ask Phil some questions if there's someone here that wants to ask some questions. Okay. So I'm going to introduce Phil Langdon, and he'll just tell us who he is. Okay.
All right. Okay. Hi, I'm Phil Langdon from London. I'm 53. I ascended spiritually in 2014, December, which is nearly 10 years ago now. And that's what I discuss. That's what we discuss here.
Good. Good to see you, Phil. It's been a while. Wow. Don't look like you aged any yet. I don't see any gray hairs yet. Or either you're using something up there.
No.
Okay. I'm just picking on you. So I wanted to ask you something. You've kind of spoken a little bit about it, but you haven't gone into what I would call maybe in a deeper way. When you had your ascension or enlightenment effect upon your life at Angkor Wat, like you said, nearly 10 years ago, what is the major attribute that you can go on? It don't have to be just one. It could be whatever the attributes you want to share that you encountered after your ascension at that time, and the process that's been taking place in your life.
Yeah, I didn't know what it would do. It was a surprise for me. I didn't expect it. So when it happened, I didn't quite know what was going on. So I had to reorient myself and find out if there were any references to the experience written down in anywhere, really. And I started by immediately remembering that I'd read about white clouds in the Bible. So I looked up the book of Revelation the following day, in fact, after the event with the cloud. And I started recognizing what it was saying. And it shocked me because I realized that the experience was actually written down as the content of religious material. And that took me by surprise. I didn't realize that anyone could experience that, especially as a surprise. I thought you'd expect it, but I didn't expect it. And the thing that happened as a result is that the subconscious mind is now opened up to your conscious mind. So instead of having the odd dream that's very profound and interesting here and there in your life, the content of your subconscious mind seems to know everything already. And when you illuminate, you open a gate between your conscious and your subconscious, it seems. This is from hindsight. And for the next 4 years, once a week, I had something particular come through from the subconscious, as if I was dreaming all the time. One of those things, to give an example, was the red lion. The idea of the red lion as a symbol of royalty. What does it mean? Where does it come from? Why is it the lion that's being used? So with the introduction of the idea of the red lion, I started exploring what the red lion means. And so I spend the next week on that. And as I go through that material, I'll come across something else. And that will spark another explosion of information. And it's all coming from your subconscious. So the subconscious is like a total plan that you can access through this event, this illumination event.
Are you saying simply are you saying this information's been there all the time, but you never happened until you had your ascension? So
that's right.
What you're saying, that's okay. What you're saying simply is that everything is already available within you. but you have to go through this event that you went through, either enlightenment or ascension or what other people say, that changes your whole perspective of all things. Then it actually taps into what. So you are complete. I mean, when I say complete, you have this info, this knowledge is already there in some ways, but you have to tap into it.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, because you're a complete being, and in a sense, the physical human being has nothing missing in terms of the environment that it's in. You are not lacking anything. You are a product of the universe, and the universe is a product of the creator. So you're a product of the creator, and he has made everything available to you that you need. Forget the demon stuff for a moment. You've got a body that is very capable of telling you everything you need to know about reality and the reality you're in, as it should. So all that information is literally in your subconscious. Your subconscious is that information, if you like. The subconscious is made out of that information. So everything the creator knows is in you. Everything about the universe is already in you. So you just have to access it. And you access it through ascension by opening the gate between the subconscious and subconscious.
So you have a library of information within you.
That's right. That's right. Everyone has that. Everyone. So
everyone, no matter who it is, has that opportunity.
That's right. That's correct. Okay. Yeah. The stuff that is so vast that it took 4 years for it to stop, for it to run out of things to show me.
Okay.
4 years. That's every single week, without fail. Every single week there was something new to look at and explore. Every week for 4 years. Yeah, that's how much information I've gone through in those 4 years, and it's all profound. It's all the stuff of the church. It's all the stuff of royalty. It's all the stuff that's been established for thousands of years on this planet already. It tells you all about pyramids, what they mean, why they do that, why we would make such a thing, and you understand the world as a result. You also understand royalty and the authority of royalty and how it disseminates down to regular people, as it were, that everybody complains about. And you understand why people complain, because you've been in their position, and now you understand the position of royalty. So, and it's the same dichotomy between self-righteousness and righteousness. It's exactly that dichotomy between royalty and a regular person. And people don't understand. They don't understand why there is royalty. Who are these people? Why are they so special? Well, they're not. But you need to understand that ascension makes you royal. This is what royalty is. And the cloud of heaven that you make as a result when you ascend is referred to as a lion, a red lion. It's a red lion because it looks like a cloud, okay, but you can associate it with the body of a lamb or a sheep.
Right.
And it's got these beams of white light coming out of it that are fixed in place. And that is thought of as the blood of the lamb.
Right.
But if you now want to associate the cloud, because the cloud looks like the head of a lion. It's the same shape as the head of a lion. So they call it a lion-like ruler because he's very powerful, the creator. This cloud is the creative principle and the redeemer in your personal ascension.
What do you mean by creative? You mentioned this before. What do you mean by creative principle?
Right. So I could do it using physics, but I won't because it'll probably confuse people.
Okay.
Yeah. So you've got the ascension event releases you from your body as a piece of light. You become light, and as light, you always move at the speed of light. So
that means you're timeless.
Yes.
That event.
Yeah, when you ascend, you move at the speed of light, and at the speed of light, there is no universe, there's no time, there's no nothing. That condition is the root condition of the physical universe. At t equals 0, there is no time. And it's an infinite abyss. It has you in it as the observer, and this cloud that you've just made with God when you ascend. That condition is the root condition of our universe, apparently. And it's at t0. Always, only ever t0. There's no time passing, so it's always just that fixed event. And it's considered to be the root of our existence.
So when you say what I forgot his name here. Arthur M. Young talks about.
Mm.
He spoke about something, not in this book, but another book. He talks about basically the seed. He talks about the seed, SEED, and that's illustrated with even when Jesus speaks of the mustard seed at one time, such and such, such and such. And then you give illustrations to do with the acorn, with the oak tree, such and such. So this apparently, what I understand is that the seed has everything already contained within it to create life.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's what Arthur Young is talking about when he talks about the beginning, what I call this whole it's an angle, like I call it upside. It's not a pyramid, but it's a somewhat upside down, and it's a descent, and it goes all the way to a certain from the seed to the other apparatus, the molecule, which the molecule be even also the seed, also to the point simply is to the minerals, and then eventually it gets to a point, it goes down. You think it's going to continue. He said it's going to continue to ascend, and suddenly it ascends back up, and then it becomes plant life, and then after plant life becomes animal life, and then eventually to what we call humans.
With the developed rationale. Right. That's the point of the human as above an animal. We have thinking capability. We can understand things in the future. In the past, animals can't do that.
Right.
Yeah. And we can discuss it as well. I was going to say, Brant, the mustard seed concept spoken by Jesus is very interesting, because the mustard seed, he emphasizes as being very, very small. But it grows into a large bush or tree or whatever comes from it. What he's talking about is the universe. He's saying, look how big the universe is. It's all come from a tiny little seed, and the seed is zero-dimensional. So it has no physical size. The abyss, from the universal point of view, the abyss has no physical size. It's just a point, it's a location in the past, nothing more. See, but the abyss is actually your continuity. So here comes the connection between us and the universe that we are in.
Right.
We are in a symbiotic relationship with our surroundings. There's no two ways about it. And we are meant to be here. We're okay being here. We're not aliens, as it were, in a universe that doesn't belong to us. We belong here physically.
Right.
Yeah. So the creator, this event that creates the cloud, because it's an infinite pulse. God expands from you as an infinite pulse, generating the abyss and this cloud. And because the abyss is infinite, it's automatically timeless and automatically at the root of whatever comes out through time. It's automatically the root. It's an impersonal root because you're born into its system. So it's very impersonal, the creator, like the devil. You get the impression that the creator absolutely hates you because you're in a body and you don't know what's going on. You're completely ignorant when you're born. So he hasn't produced a perfect being. He's produced a vessel in which we can use to generate the cloud of heaven for ourselves personally, but he has nothing to do with that generation. He just gives you the means for what you want to do.
It's a means for you to actually to grow in a way that basically can know more about what's around you, and eventually to later, maybe what we call in many lifetimes, that you'll be able to grasp this whole thing and then ascend. You see.
I don't think people realize the importance of time as well. If you look at metaphysics, you have to look at something over time. It's like this statement, you will know them by their works. I cannot know you just by looking at you without knowing you, having met you first. I need to meet you, spend some time with you, look at how you behave in different situations. And after a while, I can turn around and say, I think I know you better.
Right.
So extrapolate that in terms of the reality around you. When you start learning about reality, it's going to take you a bit of time to get to a point where you actually understand it. Yes,
because you're born basically as a baby, and you're dependent upon your parents. You're dependent upon not only that, you're dependent upon that, you're dependent also basically on the physical aspect but also the knowledge that they supposedly have, your parents have, you see. But yes, because I was trying to think of something else that Mr. Young also talked about is kind of key. He was talking about matter. He says that science considers that matter is everything, when he says that, if I'm correct, what I read, is he says, no, it's light. Light. He said, L-I-G-H-T. He said, light is the essence of life.
Yeah.
Meaning simply,
light. Yeah.
Pardon me?
Sorry, everything's made out of light.
That's right. That's what he's saying. He's saying science is messing over here, and it adds what we call matter. And he's saying that's not the primary thing here. He's saying the prime thing is light, L-I-G-H-T. And in reality, simply is the Gospels talk about light, L-I-G-H-T, quite a few times in those 4 books.
Yeah.
Sharing that information to point out simply is that in reality, you will be the light of the world. Well, that's spiritual ascension. Yes. But it's not only that, it's life itself is from the light. In fact, if we didn't have the sun, there would not be any life on this planet.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right.
I noticed something. I'll say this. I noticed something the other day. I've seen it before. I'm sitting in my backyard. I'm looking at a tree, and I'm seeing something I've seen before, but kind of just, so it's not crazy. So I look at it, and I see like a reflection off the leaves. I see some type of apparition that's taking place with the sun showing on those leaves, and I can see light on that leaf as it gives like a little mirror type of thing reflecting back. I don't know if that's photosynthesis or what I was taught in school or what, but I could tell in some ways simply it's like, have I just suddenly noticed this, or am I, but I noticed that, meaning in some ways, I think that tree is taking in that light, which is from the sun, is generating life and creating that tree, even keeping it great. And that's what the most beautiful part. That's why everybody loves spring, is that everything comes back out. It's no longer somewhat dormant or dead as it's been in the winter. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but that was just happened like 3 or 4 days ago, and it's like, oh wow! And I kept looking at it, and it kept vibrating back and forth. So I don't know I don't know if that makes any sense, but it makes sense to me.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting because a tree gives you every single dimension you can imagine. A seed is akin to a 0-dimensional point. It's not 0-dimensional because a seed has 3 dimensions, but philosophically, we can look at the process of a plant and compare it to the dimensions. So a seed is 0-dimensional. The stem that comes from it when it grows out of the ground is a 1-dimensional extension. Right. On the stem, we have leaves, and a leaf is a surface like a solar panel. Right. Which is 2-dimensional. Right. Surface is 2-dimensional. Eventually, the fruit or the bud will develop for a flower, and that's 3-dimensional. That's a volume. Right. We've gone from 0-dimensional seed, 1-dimensional stem, 2-dimensional leaves, and 3-dimensional bud. That's a complete system. Right. The bud is now going to invert itself and regenerate the original seed. Right. We have a piece of fruit. 2, 3, 4, 5, back to the beginning again. Right. That's the standard cycle of everything in existence, in physical existence. Arthur Young standardized that in his book, Geometry of Meaning. Right. Which is one of the greatest, I think that's one of the greatest books ever written, personally. But the physics in there is absolutely essential for people to grasp, especially people into spiritual stuff. They need to see that. You need logic. Yeah, I was going to suggest that basically people want to watch. He passed away in 1995. Yeah. He and the University of California, I think at Berkeley, did interviews with him. And yes, they're older, but there is so much content in these interviews he's doing with this other guy. In fact, he does his own videos himself, describe what he's doing. It would help people to see these videos just to see what he's talking about. The guy is a brilliant man.
Most people think of him simply as the one who invented the helicopter. Well, yes, he did at a very young age. Most people don't even aware. He was like 18 years old or such and such, very young, playing with a helicopter. And there's a picture of him such and such with the helicopter in his backyard, so to speak. What I call a model of it, but it was able to fly. You see, and so he picked that up with nature. That's where he got his idea. And most of our ideas, ingenious way, the inventors look at nature and discover something about it, and then make an invention that's part of the material world.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah. Like Victor Schauberger said, he learns everything from nature. Yeah. Right. The guy he did Vortex water flow.
Right. How it was do a vortex, like a cylindrical shape, eventually, such and such, and and actually would clean itself, such and such, off the rocks or whatever. And so it was what we call pure water, so to speak. But anyway, go ahead. I've got a little bit, but yes. I would definitely recommend this particular book. I have already read about 3/4 of the book. I don't understand all of it. But I was going to ask Phil something right here, since I'm right here at the top. If Phil, he's talking about this on page 82, and he's talking about level, what he called light would be unity, and it would be what I call three-dimensional free, and then he talked about the second level being nuclear, threefold, two-dimensional free. The atoms would be fourfold, and the molecules would be 12-fold. So now, I'm trying to figure out if 12 has an idea. This is on page 82.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. He says there's no dimensions free. And so does that have to do with the idea of what's in our head? We have 12 aspects of our brain. Then we know that simply is that Jesus spoke about his 12 disciples, which is the number 12. And then lower part of this, at the bottom part of this page, is where I struggle with. I think it's similar to what I call the V, as he talks about protons, nuclear particles, and atoms and molecules. And then it goes to what he calls an evolution of life. So it shoots back up on this lower graph.
Yeah. All he's doing is showing you why he came up with that system in the first place. And it's nothing more than a system of accumulation starting with light.
Right.
The first one there is photons.
Right.
Protons, just to emphasize.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Photons.
Photons, right.
That's right.
It's okay.
It looks like photons, yeah.
Well, when you get older, your eyesight's not quite as good. You just got to glance. Oh yeah, protons. Yeah, okay. No, not protons. Sorry.
Yeah. So he's saying everything starts with light, and then the next stage is, of course, particulate matter and the variety of particles you can get. Of course, that information must be contained in light somehow. With particles, of course, once you've established particle nature, you're going to have atoms because they coagulate together and they work together. One's negative, one's positive, effectively.
So when you say particles, that is the smallest aspect of the atoms. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's material that makes the atom. Yeah.
Right. So it's a what I would call an apparatus of what we call making up an atom. Okay, so we have never been told that in school. I think we've always been told atoms, and that's long ago. But anyway, and then eventually it leads to what we call molecules.
Yeah. All we're doing is accumulating. With light, we make particles. With particles, we put them together and make atoms. We put atoms together to make molecules. You put molecules together to generate the vegetable kingdom, or they are made up of molecules. Right. Animals are then a higher version of the vegetable kingdom. A single animal will contain everything to do with the vegetable kingdom in itself. Likewise, a human being has every aspect of the animal kingdom in themselves.
So it's an evolution of life.
Yeah.
It's a gradual evolution of life. And that's also the point simply is that we are roughly around 70% water.
Yeah.
And what's revealed simply is that in where we came from, which we came from our mother's water inside of her womb, but also simply to do with waters outside of ourselves, you see.
Yeah.
And so, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's right. The idea, all he's doing is showing you the logic of accumulation in the natural world that leads to a human being. He didn't know about the pineal light, Arthur Young. He didn't get that far. But his system shows you, and it basically proves that the system that is accumulating is to create a being who can recreate the original creator. That's the purpose of it. The creator is trying to recreate himself.
Oh, man. Wow.
Yeah, through us.
Okay, so that's why.
He starts out as the ignorant devil, but he wants you to turn him into Jesus Christ.
Right.
That's what we do. We turn the devil into Jesus Christ. We redeem the devil through our actions in life and our ascension. We redeem our portion of the universe.
Yes. Right.
And in so doing, we complete this process that's written up by Arthur here. We could literally complete that process. Yeah. And we become light that starts the universe.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Fascinating. I think it's utter genius. The whole thing is genius. I
mean, it's similar to Russell.
Yes.
Well, in some ways, but Russell talks about it simply in a different way. But this is more. I'm not saying anyone is better than the other one. I'm just saying something when I've been reading this particular book, and I encourage people, if you can't buy the book, you can actually go to archive.org and read it online. And if you're that, and you can read, if you don't want to read it, you can actually tap a button there, and it will be computerized voice. So someone will speak to you the book also.
Yeah.
So those that are not able to see as well, or just simply learn by what I call audio instead of actually in other ways. But anyway, there's no excuse now, folks. The information's there. It's all there. It's all free. You see, funny. So you don't have to have. You don't have to be a millionaire or whatever buying all these books here. Such I'm not a millionaire, but I'm just saying these books I have in my room. So what I'm trying to say simply is the opportunity. It's your choice. It's your opportunity. There's no excuses, so to speak. You see, it's not like it was 500 years ago. Yeah. So and we're seeing that there's men that have come out and spoke about few men that have spoken and given what I would call, they've gone more than most people ever would go, and yet they've offered their works to others for free so that they would be able to come eventually to becoming little Christ, as they would say, or little Jesuses or something like that. So that's what you're saying here, is that and the only way you can do that, and this is what people don't understand, the only way you can do that is into a physical body on this particular world, this planet, in order to do that. That's just the way it's been made to take place. And yes, as I explained to others in something I shared on my Facebook page, the opportunity is now if you can do this if you want to. But you also, you can reincarnate it again and again and again. Eventually, you're going to get it. God's not going to, that's the other thing, sometimes we feel that God's going to judge us and stuff like that to the point, he's going to get rid of me or something. We've been told these things. We're a bad boy. We're such and such. That's God's timetable is that you will eventually get to this.
Yeah.
It's your decision.
That's right.
And God's not putting a gun to your head and saying, you better get it now, or you're going to go to hell. Because that's what they're teaching a lot of ways is what they're teaching in the church. And that's not true. It is not even close to true. It's a lie.
But they don't understand that when the scriptures say, if you don't make this heavenly cloud, you're going to go to hell. What it's really saying is you're going to be reincarnated.
Right. That's what
it means, basically.
Right. There's no fire. There's no brimstone. All this stuff we've been told, such and such, to keep people in a fear mode. That's a lie. You see.
Effectively, it is. I mean, some people put themselves in right sticky situations in their spiritual outside of their body when they have near-death experiences.
Yeah, there are people who do that, but that's based upon their own belief system that they carry with them when they pass away. Correct?
It's a state of ignorance, even in death.
So they carry that with them. When in reality, they're creating that, they're manifesting that when they pass away.
Yeah.
So
A horrible thing about life is that it's all your fault. What you do, I mean, outside of what people impose on you, that has nothing to do with you. But what you choose to do and what it produces is down to you. It's all you.
Yes, it's your responsibility by far.
It is. Yeah, you can't blame other people for your choices, so to speak. Another thing you mentioned a moment ago is the idea of being very honest. So if God suddenly appeared to you now, would you? And he said, well, last week I saw you do something you didn't want anyone to see. Are you going to admit it to me? If you say, yeah, I did that, this is exactly what I did. I can even write it down for you. I'll tell you everything. I don't want to hide anything from you. This is self-honesty. It almost doesn't matter if you've done something wrong. If you can be honest about it, that is what's important. So doing wrong things isn't the point. It's how you appreciate them. If God approached you now, would you be able to admit it to him? Would you be open to admit everything?
In other words, you're saying what happened to you at Angkor Wat. I remember you stating simply is that God spoke to you and said that why does this happen? Is because you are honest.
For being honest with myself, yeah. For being honest with
myself. And it's being honest with yourself. It doesn't mean being a lack of. I'm trying to make sure I'm just going to ask a question. It doesn't mean always being honest with other people. No. It's about being honest, and it doesn't mean you do things wrong. We all make mistakes there, but being honest with yourself. Okay.
Yeah.
So let me ask a question.
Yeah, go.
I think sometimes I know this in my own life. I'll say this: being honest. Sometimes I actually say yes, I do wrong, but there's a guilt with me, a struggle with that, and beating myself up. Yes, I failed again. So that's been put in my mind somewhat with the church, so to speak.
Right. There's no such thing as perfection in performance. There's no such thing. No. Perfection in God's eyes is this self-honesty. If you can openly talk about your things, what you do, and not worry about it. Yeah, yes, I took a boat out last week and I threw a grenade into the river to kill fish so I could eat them easily. I didn't have to fish. Yes, I did that. Yes, I did. I did do that.
Okay. Right.
If God says to you, did you throw a grenade in that river last week to get those fish? No, I didn't do that. No, it wasn't me. Don't look at me. No. Be honest about it. Yeah, just you've done something wrong.
You did something wrong. Yeah, you killed those fish. You killed thousands of fish, and you only need 3 or 4 of them at the most at that time. And so
that's the only thing that God is looking for. Are you honest about it? Just be honest. If you've murdered somebody in the past, be honest about it. Don't pretend you didn't do it. This is the issue. So it's the same as righteousness, self-righteousness. If I'm self-righteous, I won't admit to you that I murdered someone 5 years ago.
So self-righteous.
I want you to know that. Because I don't want you to think I'm a bad person. I want you to pretend that I'm perfect. There's no perfection in
so that's that whole psychological bent to it that actually you're putting on a mask and pretending that you're self-righteous when reality you're not.
You're pretending you have no shadow and that your body is not the devil.
Right.
Because your body is the devil, your physical body is the devil. Because of that, be honest about it. If you approach God or God approaches you and he says, what are you doing? You say, look, I'm doing this, I'm doing that because this is what I think. Be honest about it. Okay, you're not getting that quite right. If God was there, he'd say, well, that's not quite right. He'd say, oh, I see. Well, explain it to me. Okay, here's this and here's that. Oh, I see. I got it wrong. Okay, I'll do it right now. There's the attitude that's self-honest. So
okay.
There's no hiding. There's no hiding. Yeah.
Interesting. Because the whole idea when you're saying about we're taught to be honest with other people. Like for myself, like if I took something, whatever, I took a candy bar or whatever, and I took the candy bar, such and such. But but when it comes down, what you're saying simply is that we don't realize simply is that we need to be honest with ourselves and with God and simply say, did you take that candy bar? I'm just giving an illustration. And I took that candy bar. I wanted it real bad. Or either even the idea simply is even people would say, I'm hungry and I didn't have anything to eat for the last couple of days. And I took this meal from somebody else or whatever, such and such. Yeah. Okay. So when we're talking about self-righteousness, it's you trying, and in reality, it actually Christianity does show some of this stuff. It says basically they used to use this idea, see if this is correct or not. The illustration was simply self-righteousness was you sitting on the throne instead of God being on the throne, they would say.
Yeah. So what is right? Yeah.
Right.
Not what you want, but what is correct.
Right.
This is the spiritual.
So, and even the illustration that they use they show you sitting there with a little crown, and you're sitting on the throne, and that's based upon your own self-righteousness. But in reality, simply is that's not going to get it, so to speak. So they're actually even using that. I'm not saying they're perfect. I'm just saying this is what I remember as a child. They would be a little track, they would call it. And they would show you sitting, and they would show you, but they show that's you, such and such, sitting on the throne, because you're depending on your self-righteousness to get to heaven. And you're not going to get to heaven because what they're saying is simply is you're not being real, you're not being honest. That basically you are a sinner. You are of the devil. Your body is such and such. You need God, His righteousness to actually deal with that. You have that within you, but you don't know how to get to that. So you have to be honest with God. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Therefore, it's in your choices. It's in your choices. If you choose self-righteousness because that's what you want, you're ignoring truth and righteousness. And that is literally turning your back against God. See, it's not being open. It's like shutting down. No, I want this. I want this. I don't want that. Yeah, but you don't even know what that is. So right. I don't want to know. Yeah, just have a look at it. Just have a look and think about it first, yeah, before you make a decision. Yeah, you haven't even looked. You know what are you doing, making a decision on something?
Well, there's a presupposition that basically even in when those who come out of the church and eventually, I don't want anything to do with religion. We're not talking about religion. Yeah. Okay, religious man's idea of something what he wants to makes God. So he's created his own God in some ways too, his own attitude. See. And so what's happened, if I understand it correctly, again, is that we don't want that. So what we do, we shut off God and everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've been on this side and we've been burned. So when we come to this point and God says, I can give you the truth here, he says, no, that's religion. It's like, no. God is not religion, folks.
Yeah, that's right.
Religion is man's idea.
Kind of like that, yeah. But again, the added problem, like we mentioned earlier, I don't think we were live when we spoke about this, but we were talking about the language of branches. I don't know whether you want to.
Yes, go ahead and talk about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, because what we're just talking about leads us to the language of branches. When people get burned with religion, it's because they don't understand what they're reading and they misinterpret it and they expect certain things to come about that don't happen, and therefore they go back to the book and say that's rubbish.
Right.
I was promised certain outcomes by this, and I didn't get them, so that's just rubbish. You know, There's a problem with giving a Shakespearean play to a monkey. It's the same issue as that. A monkey cannot appreciate a Shakespearean play.
No.
Spiritual reality is beyond and above normal, everyday physical life. It is. Therefore, it takes time to appreciate it. And it takes for the intention to appreciate it in the first place. Otherwise, you won't know about it because you won't know what it is. Right. So I mean, you can't identify it because all you've got is physical stuff in front of you doing whatever it does. There's nothing spiritual in front of you. You can't see anything spiritual at all. So the language of branches, I think it's important to raise this because the entire Bible is written in this language. And nobody knows about it. I had to go and I got the phrase language of branches from a Kabbalist.
Okay.
He rightfully coins it like that. So, and I've got an example for you actually in the Gospel of John. I can use anything in the Bible to show you this language, but I'm going to pick out this one in particular because it illustrates their use of place names.
Okay.
Right. Here is it's John chapter 3, verse 23, if somebody wants to look it up. And it says, now sometime with them, now John also was baptizing at Anon near Salim, because there was plenty of water and people were coming and being baptized. Right, now you're going to skip, most people will skip over that and think, well, Anon, well, some place in I don't know, Palestine, Israel, whatever.
Right.
Near Salim, okay, that's just some town or village. I'm not going to bother with that. But those two words are the most important words in the entire sentence.
Okay, that's what I kind of figured, that we kind of say, well, that's not important. It's just a little town or community or lake or whatever. It's not important, but it is important.
So it says, now John also was baptizing at Anon. So let's find out what Anon means.
Okay.
When you look it up, it literally means a cloud, fountain, his eye. It means those three things, and all three of those things are the cloud of heaven. So a cloud, a fountain, the cloud of heaven is the waters of life. So it's a fountain, a water fountain.
Right.
And it's also the third eye. So it's his eye. So all three of those meanings are the same thing. They're just pointing out different aspects of the same thing.
And how's that spelled in the Bible, that particular word?
The word Anon is Aenon.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
It says here, Anon is a Greek word coming from a Hebrew term, ayin. It means spring or natural fountain, and was a place near Salem where John the Baptist baptized, it says. But that's not actually true physically. This is the language of branches. It's telling you about spiritual ascension as a kind of baptism. See? Okay.
That's what I kind of thought, but that's what you're saying. Basically, it is revealing that already in the scriptures.
Yeah, near Salim. Let's look up the word Salim. I've already done it, and it means peaceful. Peaceful. When you ascend, it is the most peaceful you have ever been and will ever be. So it's saying here, now John also was baptizing at Anon, or the cloud, at the cloud. The cloud baptizes you, and John was baptizing at the cloud. Well, John is the fish man at the end of the right hand of the cloud. That's why it's him at the cloud. Near Salim, near where it's peaceful, where it is peaceful. That is the most peaceful place ever. The abyss is absolute silence. See, and nothing changes or moves, so it's absolute peace. And God is absolute peace as well, and rest and tranquility.
So when you mention those three attributes there, you're saying rest, tranquility, and peace. You said something about it in your own life and what took place to you later on. We've conversed before, and you said that you don't have any problems, but you said you don't worry. You don't worry. Well, that reveals in some ways that as we get older, we worry a lot in our lives because we're worried about, well, we're going to have food on the table. Do I have enough money to pay this bill? I'm not feeling well. What's wrong with my body? I'm hurting in my head, such and such. I'm worried about that, such and such. And what you're saying simply is, this is why people don't sleep too. They worry. They don't, and we know these things happen because I talk to people and they say, this thing is happening in my life and I don't know if I'm going to be able to pay for this or such and such. Or I've been sick here and I'm really fearful. I don't know. I might have something that is, I could be, very sick. And people worry. Which actually, in reality, I think it robs them of their own life and even their essence at that point. So what you're saying here is that doesn't matter once you come to this, what happens to you. Those things just hit you and just bounce off. It doesn't, and actually probably don't hit you at all. It doesn't. When you say you don't worry, I know I worry about things when I go to bed at night. That's why I struggle with falling asleep, you see. Even though I'm tired, I still struggle. I worry such and such. I worry about the whole idea of what you're talking about. I need to do this in my life. I need to ascend. Okay, so that's a worry for me. You see, I know that simply is that part of this simply is when I say this, it's in the last how long we've been talking? 6, 8 months, maybe.
Oh, I see.
So, so reality simply is that what you've done is reveal stuff to me. I'm not saying you've done anything wrong. I'm like, oh, it's like suddenly it's like, I didn't know this. I didn't know that. I didn't know this. And so part of me simply is just a struggle simply is that I want what you got. So meaning simply is
you want to access it in yourself. I mean,
right. No, I want what you have because simply is that I don't have it. And I know that what you're talking about is true.
Yeah.
Because I can sense that in your own life. And I also simply is that you're bold and not a bragging way, but you're bold about what you're sharing. So when you say, I am an angel, and you're just like, well, who would say that unless someone who actually has ascended? Okay, now somebody might try and you told me, we've talked about different conversations, but we won't go to that. But the point simply is like, yeah, this is what I'm looking for. This is, nothing else. And so that's why, when you say, I recommend reading this book, I recommend you look into this particular guy, look at this guy, such and such. So I'm reading these guys, such and such. And I see certain things they're talking about, such and such. And then I become, that I want others to see this also, even though I've yet to get there. I want others to see these things themselves because, frankly, I don't want them to. This is the opportunity of a lifetime. In my opinion, it's like, wow, this is great. I didn't know this. Yeah. Okay, so that's the reason why I say that. Because when I say these things, I see it as a scripture says, striving to enter in. So it's a striving. It's as though you, me, is like I'm pursuing this because I feel this is what I'm here for. This is my purpose, and so I strive for it. It's just like an illustration I see by Paul. I think it is. He illustrates that a marathon runner, he is striving to finish the marathon. Yeah. To get that is the goal, so to speak, and it's just an illustration of finding the truth. You see.
Yeah, that's right.
So So you made a comment to me 3 or 4 months ago, and I think we talked briefly about it. Simply was that you didn't worry about anything anymore.
That's right. It's the equivalent. Most people look down on the ground or look down immediately in front of them when they have a short-sighted view of their life. They look for tomorrow. What can I do tomorrow? That's like looking down. As you're walking along, you're just looking down at your immediate environment. So the spiritual stance is to look up at the horizon and realize the sun is rising. Always. You see, nothing is wrong. All is well. All is well. There is no There are no problems. In fact, they only exist in the physical realm when we don't understand things. We think there's a problem. There are no such things as problems. Everything can be solved and fixed. Everything.
So this is why people are, especially in this daytime, simply a lot of people are fearful. They're thinking about, we talked about the word tribulation, and the word tribulation simply means about life itself and what you encounter in life. Because there are things that are going to happen in your life that suddenly you have an issue with your life, physical health, or you have an issue with your car, it breaks down. Well, that's the tribulation, but it's not talking about like the whole world is going to collapse and everything's going to fall apart, such and such, which is what we've been told by these charlatans who are just keeping people in fear.
Yeah, fake. They're fake. Yeah. I've been watching those people all week, actually, desperately struggling to understand the Trinity and coming to, during the course of their discourses, all these people are saying the same thing. We don't really understand the Trinity, therefore it's bullshit.
Yeah, they believe it. They claim to believe it.
These are supposed to be high intellectuals, these people. That is utter stupidity. If you don't understand something, do not draw conclusions. How can you draw a conclusion if you don't know what you're dealing with? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, they say, it's so sad. Simply, you just believe it. It's almost as though I'm going to believe this because you said this, or just believe it. And it's like my thinking simply is, well, wait a minute, you can't explain it. So if you can't explain it, how is it reality? How can it be true?
Yeah.
So if you can't do it, you're already teaching false doctrines, teachings.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. But people don't want to seem as though they don't know what they're talking about. Well, I notice everyone who stands up on that podium and starts talking about these religious ideas has an attitude. They're exuding a kind of, well, I'm very confident. I'm not insecure.
It's a pseudo self. It's when they put themselves on a pulpit, they feel as though they're the man of God, and so they quote unquote have ascended when they haven't ascended at all. And so
they have no idea what they're talking about.
No, they don't.
They don't even know what the scriptures are saying. I don't understand why they don't.
Well, they look at it literally. That's why they look at things literally. They say things, and I tried to explain to someone the other day that Scripture itself is not literal. If you see it in literal eyes, you are still at a certain point in your life that you don't see that there is layers of the Bible written, and I say layers, is hidden only for those who are seeking the truth. Those who don't want to find the truth are not going to find it because they're looking at it with literal eyes. It's also simply to the milk and the meat. You're still in the milk. Milk is being, I think, is simply you being literally seeing things, and you need to go to the meat. You need to see things in a different way. I could be wrong, but that's just what I'm saying.
That's right. But when you hear the truth will set you free,
right?
That statement is absolutely true. But people think, oh, once I know the truth about this or that, I don't have to think about it anymore, and that's what it means. No, it doesn't mean that. It means you will ascend once you know the truth for yourself. And knowing something means experiencing it. And the truth is God. The truth is God. Therefore, you must experience God to know the truth.
You made a comment to me probably many months ago. You stated simply as, if I understand simply, it's like we need to have knowledge. And with knowledge, that leads to wisdom. And with wisdom, you actually begin to understand, and you ascend. You figured it out. That's right. You have the experience.
It is a puzzle.
Right. You actually have put the puzzle whole together, and now you see the whole picture of the truth.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And I explain simply is that God is truth because that's who His essence is.
Yeah.
That is His whole characteristics of what He is about.
Yeah.
There's no untruth in God. That's a lie. It's simply God is truth.
That's right. That's right. And eternally so. Yeah. Truth is always true. It's never not true. So it's eternal. Yeah. But here's the thing about looking up at the horizon. People have a doom and gloom attitude to their life.
Right. I see this. Right.
You know,
I see it in myself. I see it in my own self a lot of times too. So I know because I came from that churchianity teachings. Everything's literal. This is bad things in Revelation, such and such. And people. I see people today immensely, and I think, wait a minute, they've been fooled before because there have been these preachers in the past. Oh, yes, Jesus is coming soon. And they'll give you a date. They'll tell you a certain date. And they'll say, oh, such and such is coming tomorrow or whatever. And they do this. They do this craziness. And it doesn't happen because it never was meant as a physical apparition at all. It was something that's supposed to take place within you internally. That's what it's about. It's not external. It's not you see Jesus coming down. That makes no sense. Okay? Because you've talked about it simply is that if Jesus came, He would have to be visible to all the whole world when He came back. That means at night and day and the sky. And that's not possible.
That's right. How does that work? There are 8 billion people on the planet. How are 8 billion people?
And then the problem is simply most people are in their houses. So if He does come back, so just being kind of funny, but most will be in their houses watching television. So they'd have to have a camera up there televising and showing it. Oh, here He is. Such and such. No. So that's how people look at things literally and think that, oh, God's physically coming back. No, God's not coming physically back. That's not anything to do with that. He's talking about this in your own self. Who you are comes back. You see.
That's right. Yeah. I'm watching TV. There's a flash of light outside. I have a look. What was that, dear? Oh, it's nothing. Don't worry about it. Just carry on watching. It's only Jesus. Don't worry about it.
It's just a comment, honey. But it shows the ridiculousness of religion when you have these people who have actually there's been the history in the 1800s to 1900s. It's time for Jesus to come back. Things are getting horrible on this planet. Well, things have been always horrible on this planet. We just simply have made it bigger. Simply now we see everything with a camera and reveal it. You see.
Right. That's right.
that's all. See how bad it is over here in Cambodia, or here how bad it is in Africa here, such and such. People are starving, such and such. When there's a long time ago, people were starving then, but there was no camera there. You see. Right. Oh, we don't know about it, but yet it did take place. You see.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what happens simply is that we've talked about a little bit about the media that they use fear to keep people glued to the television. Same way with the newspaper, same way in the past. So
to be perfectly honest, I know people think that the media are there to do that kind of thing, but all that's going on is money is being made, and the more drama you can express, the more money, more people will attend to it, and therefore will make more money. So it's nothing more than a theatrical performance.
Right.
The media. Right. And it's designed to make money. It's not designed to necessarily to bluff everyone or whatever. I mean, obviously there are incidences where politicians have to lie because I don't want you to think they're less than perfect. But apart from that, the whole principle of media is it's a theatre circus to make money. That's its remit, making money. That's all.
I was going to ask you another question. It was we talked about something the church symbols. What? Why do we see these symbols which are actually revealing truth, but we don't seem to understand those symbols at all?
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah, the Star of David, for instance. Some people argue that the Star of David is demonic.
Right.
I don't know where.
I used to be in that crowd. Yeah, I used to believe that Star of David, such and such. That's that's the Antichrist. All that kind of stuff. So I've been on that other side with these other guys saying such and I haven't, I have thinking, oh, Jesus is coming back such and such, because I was thinking I have something written in the yearbook in my 1978. Jesus will be coming soon, so to speak. And they would use the word Maranatha, which Maranatha was taught, meaning God's coming soon. And because things were getting bad even in the 80s, so to speak, the late 70s. And we were thinking, oh, it can't get any worse. And yet, okay, that's over roughly almost 50 years ago. And yes, it has gotten worse. And yet, God has not come because it wasn't a physical attribute of God coming here. It's all to do with a spiritual attribute that takes, I said say attribute, but a spiritual way of seeing things instead of actually seeing it in the physical. And that, again, reveals simply is that people are not seeing because they're looking at everything and being literal. But anyway, I've gotten off a tangent here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. The biggest problem with doing that, of course, is that you end up with a messed up idea of reality that doesn't represent reality, which will never get you anywhere. The whole point of ascension is to reconstruct reality to yourself so you understand it. And when you do understand it, you're on top of a pyramid. You're on top of a mountain. You can see everything all at once.
Will you say this again to clarify? How many pyramids have been built on this planet?
There's over 76,000 of them.
76,000 pyramids on this planet.
Yeah.
That is a huge symbol.
Yeah.
That's a symbol that reveals something deeper.
Yeah.
That was used long ago. Was people, I ask this question since we're asking this, let's go back. I'm not go back. Just to say in the past, were they what I call any spiritual giants in the past, so to speak, with these pyramids, or people are still just as lost as they are today?
Well, it seems as though in the past it was there was no media getting in your way. There was no drama getting in your way. It was just natural life around you, and people were very realistic back then. There was no television, movies, or reproduction of anything apart from their own art and pottery and what have you. Very simple way of being. And they built a pyramid in the middle of their community because the pyramid represents everything they stand for, and come to know the wise men and women of their tribes and what have you would come to know these things, and they'd realize the best building we can make is a pyramid because it teaches everyone everything they need to know.
Right.
It's only changed in the last few hundred years or whatever it was. I don't know how.
Maybe 1,000 years.
Yeah. Angkor Wat was built 1,000 years ago only. It's very recent.
Right.
Very recent. So, yeah. So it's only in modern times that things have gone a bit awry, I feel. So it was normal back in the day. There were thousands of people who became illuminates, and it was a normal thing. It was established. You can see just looking at the ancient past, that's the truth about it. But it's been sequestered and removed from normal society for various reasons, I suppose. I mean, there are reasons that you can refer to. The animal nature of some people causes a problem, and the very highfalutin nature of spiritual speak, that the kind of material you go through with this spiritual nature is very difficult for a regular person to understand or grasp because they have no personal reference to it. So you must experience things to gain personal reference to something somebody else refers to.
Right.
If you don't experience anything, you're never going to understand anyone.
No.
So you must experience it for yourself, to relate to what's being said. So people can't relate to what's in the Bible, for instance, because it's just stories about people in the ancient past who apparently were continuously talking to God, and God was answering them somehow. What, a voice from the sky? Was that it? Was it in their head? Well, if you say, I've got a voice in my head, people are going to say, well, you're schizophrenic.
Right.
You've got mental illness. What do you mean there's a voice in your head? There's nobody in your head. What are you talking about?
Right.
See? So how do we interpret all these things? Well, why are people having conversations with God? Well, you're only reading a story. It's a story to illustrate a point to you. See, you read about Lord of the Rings, it's fiction. But if someone gave it to you and said this is a factual account of an ancient history, you might actually believe them.
You might actually believe them, right? Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. I wanted to mention. I was just about to mention, because you mentioned something a couple of minutes ago that bleeds into what you should be looking at, what you should be getting your head round. Instead of making all these mistakes, what is it that makes things good and makes things right? What is it about studying reality that has any benefit? See, so when I did physics, I was looking for that. Is there anything useful in this? Oh my gosh, yes, there is. It turned out that the concept that we use in regular terms anyway, people who don't do maths and physics, the idea of extrapolating, an extrapolation. If I have a short something that's very small, I can extrapolate it and extend it into the future, if I like.
Right.
If I look at somebody's behavior, I look at someone, he's gone into a supermarket and he's throwing everything around like a crazy person. Well, what's the consequence of that going to be? He's going to be stopped, arrested, probably sectioned under the Mental Health Act, etc., etc. These are consequences. Do you think he was thinking about that when he went into the shop and started disturbing everything?
I doubt it.
So what is his view? So he's gone into a shop looking at the ground. And all he's doing is looking at the immediate moment. He's not looking ahead into the future and think, if I perform these tasks, if I destroy this shop, the consequence is going to be this.
There's going to be a consequence of this, right? I'm going to be I'm going to be put somewhere that I might not get out.
So the thing with physics and science is that it's predictable. So when you learn about something, some mechanism, all you have to do is extrapolate from that point and realize where it goes. That concept was the most profound and important concept I learned from doing physics and maths. Just that idea of extrapolating. So I think, if I do this in my life and I extrapolate into the future, what is going to be the result? If I dig holes, if I'm a grave digger and I dig holes all day, every day, within about 3 or 4 years, my back is going to go.
Right.
See, because you can't physically
just
perform
keep doing it. Right.
Yeah, forever. So if you extrapolate, you think, well, I can only do that for a certain amount of time. So it's not going to secure my life financially into the future until I die. So this idea of extrapolation is what you apply, and you think to yourself, hang on a minute, what is the point of my life overall? If I extrapolate to the moment I die, what is it that I wanted to have done by that time? Well, surely, what is there available to me? How about this idea that I was born, I was totally ignorant, I didn't know anything? How about using my life to find out about everything, to find out and discover what the point of my life is in the first place? That's what I did.
Yeah, yes. What is the point of your life? Why are you here? Right.
Yeah, where am I going to find this information?
Right.
Where am I going to find it? Well, physics and maths tells you about logic, and logic is the path to the top of your mountain, because everything that exists must have logic. It must relate to itself. Everything relates to each other. Everything has something to do with everything else, so to speak. So you can learn from anything, anywhere you go, anything you encounter, you can learn from it. And by learning, you're advancing your understanding. So it is gaining understanding that is taking me to a point where I understand everything. So let me extrapolate and figure out, how am I going to understand everything? Well, what is the nature of this learning thing? You realize that there are principles you can learn. You don't have to learn and study every single equation. You can simply realize what equations are doing and what they use. Equations are equating two different things together and saying at this point they're equal. They have their own identities and they go off in their own sense. But what elements are we using here? Let's get down to the basic elements. Everything in an equation has to do with length, mass, and time. That's it.
Okay.
Physics is mass, length, and time. There is nothing else. Look how
simple. Mass is something, how big it is, or so to speak, or how small it is. Yeah. I'm guessing.
How much stuff it has. How long it lasts.
How long it lasts.
These are just basic parameters of our physical reality. So Arthur Young came up with this. I don't know if you can see that.
Vaguely. Is that in his book, Geometry of the Meaning?
Yeah, it's his Geometry of Meaning. Yeah, Arthur Young.
What page is that on?
That is on page 49. What he's showing you there is the natural progression of anything or any object in space-time in the cosmos.
Okay.
It has a position first. If you change position continuously, you get a velocity. If you change velocity continuously, you get acceleration. And if you change acceleration continuously, you get control. Okay.
This is the Rosetta Stone, as you're looking at, correct?
That's right. That's right. This Rosetta
Stone. So that's the Rosetta Stone is speaking. It's got. Okay, so the first one at the top is control. On the one on the right is called observation. The one on the bottom is called change, and the fourth one to the left is called spontaneous act.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So what he's done is he's delineated every single characteristic of energy in one go.
Okay.
Energy is a thing that has a position. It has a velocity. It can spiral into it can turn into an acceleration, which you have with an orbit. An orbit, a constant velocity, is actually continuously accelerating. So it has position, velocity, acceleration, the main three aspects of energy and how it moves. And of course, being in an orbit, there is a gaining of control. So you have all four aspects. He's starting his cycle on the right-hand side, not at the top.
Oh, okay.
So it's on the right.
Okay.
Yeah, on the right, and we go around like that.
Okay, because I was thinking he started at the top. I wasn't thinking. So that's wasn't thinking.
Right.
So
what he's doing here is applying the units of anything in physics is mass, length, and time, and each one of these 12 divisions has its own set of those units. So it can either be mass over length or mass length over time. They all have their own station and identity.
So these are So these, like he's got here, mass length over t would be momentum or transformation.
That's
this
right.
Is something starting to change or metamorphosis like type of thing.
Yeah.
And then there's the length part is what he calls position. So that's where that, and then So what he's talking about, what about what I call ML over 2? What does 2 mean? I mean, is that double the length? Is that what it means?
ML over 2, yeah, that's squared. The number 2 is squared.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's right.
Long time for math. Okay. Over time.
Yeah,
so
it's just logical. It's a logical table that tells you everything about motion and energy in one go.
So did he come up with this particular graph, or did someone else do that? Oh, he came up with the graph.
He did this.
Okay.
Yeah, he did this. This
so
is what
he called this a Rosetta Stone. So it's not the Rosetta Stone we think about in the past. It's talking about, okay. All right.
Yeah, he's saying everything is fathomable from this set of 12 identities. You can apply this to astrology as well.
Oh.
This applies directly to the astrological symbols as a logical sequence of ideas. So he's basically making astrology scientific by doing this.
Okay. Because I was thinking simply, when I saw this, just to be straightforward with you, is that I saw Rosetta Stone. I said, I was talking about the Rosetta Stone in the past, such and such. So I glimpsed over to this. I said, okay, he's kind of figured this thing out. So I wasn't even looking at it simply as that. I was thinking, okay, I thought he got his information from the Rosetta Stone, and that's not exactly true, correct?
No.
See, that's where I got misnomer. That's where I got confused. I'm like, okay, I'm lost here. So, okay, all right.
So what all he's doing is showing you the nature of energy. It has 12 identities, energy.
Yeah, 12, correct. 12. Okay.
And these identities, of course, because it's energy, it makes a human being in the universe out of energy, and it's 12 attributes.
Okay.
Therefore, the product is going to have 12 attributes as well. And it's going to translate those basic fundamental energetic qualities into qualities of choice, personal choice.
Okay. Because it says he comes down here, comes to observation, then comes the next work. He calls it work. It's just fact. Meaning he observes what's going on. And
work is a physical process. When something does work, it means it changes a state of inertia, as it were. It changes.
So you're saying that when you say work, could I say it was first, it was ice and it turned into water? Is that what you mean by work?
Not necessarily. Pushing a car. If you push a car, you're doing work on the car.
Okay, so you're pushing the car literally. Okay, you're using your energy
and changing energy of that's stored inside you into energy of motion.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
So this study is one of the most fundamental studies there is in physics. If you can get your head around that, you're doing really, really well.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Because I basically didn't see what he was talking about, because I was looking at some other things. I was looking at, in some ways, a spiritual type of thing, also the impulse, such and such. But you're talking about this whole thing, this whole circle here is talking about energy, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. So I need to write that in here real quick before I forget. So yeah. I know that sounds kind of ridiculous, but
no, I understand.
So what he's got here, it says the end of chapter 4. So he says something else to do with that. Let's see what chapter 4 is here. We find it here. I see this here. He's got a deal he called it the 4 acts. This is similar to what he's showing the Rosetta Stone, I think. At the top, it's like a cross. It's got control at the top. The next one to the right is observation. Then the one to the bottom is change. Mm-hmm. And then a spontaneous act.
Yeah, like acceleration. It's akin
so
to
he's speaking of a chemical truth, I guess. But this is also true about spiritual. Am I correct there? Am I jumping the gun or not?
No, that's correct. That's correct. This is what we have to use as spirits in the body. These are our functioning tools, if you like. That we
right. So this is what so this is like, you observe things, and then you observe things and say, wait a minute, I'm doing this completely wrong here somewhere, so I need to make a change here and see if this actually will work or not. In other words, anything but in my life. I'm observing myself and I'm saying, why do I keep making the same mistake? And I realize I'm now come to the point simply I'm making mistakes all the time in relationships with people. So this is give an example, and then I need to say, wait a minute, I need to change. They don't need to change, but I need to change my way I see this, and I'm doing something wrong, such and such. Okay, say for example, just for a relationship with a woman, I'll just say that. Okay, and so you say, wait a minute, I'm not doing these things right here. Something I'm observing things. Either I'm observing, I'm seeing what's in this relationship. It's not working right. Something's wrong. Okay, so this might be a poor analogy, but then you say, well, I need to make a change. Either I'm going to leave this relationship because it's not a good relationship, or either I may need to change myself. And then what happens is simply then there's an act. You choose to do something different that you didn't do before. What he calls a spontaneous act.
Yeah.
And that leads to control. I would assume that leads to control, meaning simply is that you have self-control of that.
Yeah. You get on top of the situation. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes a little bit more sense than the 12. So now let me ask you another question of this thing here, since we're talking about it. Is he connecting with this back over here to page 48, you said, 49, let's just say, to do with what I call, he uses the 12. Why 12? Is 12 to do anything connecting with your mind? The 12, is that what he's connecting also with the mind or not?
That's right. Because energy has 12 states, your brain is the greatest product of the cosmos, literally. And if the cosmos is based on 12 energetic states, your brain is going to be based on the number 12 as well, without a doubt, because it's a reflection of the universe.
So that's why, we have the whole idea of simply that Jesus with the 12 disciples.
Yeah, that's right. The 12 disciples are your 12 noetic or intellectual forces. Yeah.
Right. So this is why people struggle with simply they think there's a literal interpretation that there's a John, a James, all these characters, what we call, and there's like, no, that's not what he's talking about. You see?
Yeah, they're different aspects of your own self.
Are they different? Okay. Are they different, what I call psychological aspects of yourself?
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, every single person has the entire zodiac as their brain. When they say I'm a Virgo, you're not. It's just where the sun was at the time you were born.
Right. It's the sun that has to right. Hits your head or whatever you want to call it when you were born.
Yeah, that's all. So there's a slight influence in that direction. That's all. There's nothing more to it than that.
He also mentioned something about the discovery of a planet. I think it's Pluto, and it said it had an effect upon people, such and such. I think that's what he said also. And I don't know if he said that in this book, but in one of his videos, that certain people are born at a certain time, such and such, and then this is what they have this. That's why everybody's uniquely different than everybody else.
Yeah.
There's all of us are different because we're born in a different time phase.
And you have different experiences. Yeah. Unique experiences. That's right.
Right.
That's right. The destination is always the same, but your route to get there is always unique. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I may have taken. You stop. I'm maybe taking off this wrong avenue here, but
yeah.
So in some ways, he understood the noetic himself, because I know he talked about. He actually took some risk in what he was saying on the University of California, Berkeley video. He's talking about something. He says astrology a couple of times. I'm like, wait a minute. Whoa. That's not accepted in the science region, so to speak. They're talking about astronomy, or maybe I should say the zodiac, maybe. But anyway, what he was coming to simply is that he realized that basically there had to be a God or creator. He didn't say that definitely or not, but I could sense that was where he was aiming at, and sense that there's no other way of explaining all this. Now, that's what I got from him. There would be he had a guy who was there, who was a professor, I think, or another guy with him, and they would ask questions such and such, and he would explain these things. Yeah. It's very if you take the time and listen to what he's saying, he he was a brilliant man. He understood what he was talking about, and understanding that he contemplated, him and his wife, going to I think it was India. So he was looking in spiritual things, such and such, and then eventually didn't do that. But he also spoke about, he went to a group in California that he talked about what he called, looked like a radio, but it wasn't a radio. But it would look like a radio, such and such, like it was a machine, such and such, to help people, but it wasn't. But it was basically, what it was tied into was to, what are your thoughts about who you are has an effect upon who you are.
Yeah.
So he's looking at it in a keeping yourself well somewhat, but also psychologically also. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. That's
okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going all over the place, so forgive me, Phil.
Right. That's fine. You can go all over the place as much as you like. Yeah.
Okay.
Give me 30 seconds. I'll be back in 30 seconds. Won't be a second.
Sure. 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that I got a chance to meet with Phil today. So we're still talking. Again, it's a conversation. We're just talking about certain things what I'm reading here in this particular book, the Geometry of Meaning, and then the work here, which is a Full Reflective Universe. These are his two major books. Brilliant guy. It's too sad. It's really sad he's no longer here. But we have recordings of him and his conversations. So it's important that maybe you guys can look into this. All you got to do is look up his name. Again, author M. Young, and look up on YouTube. And there are videos from his days when he was at the University of California, Berkeley, being interviewed. And then he also explains, the Taurus. He talks about the significance of the number 7, which is interesting, as I have this book here, The Alphabet That Changed the World, which is talking about the Hebrew language, you see. And the gentleman that wrote this book is Stan Tennant. He is no longer living also. And he also talks about a Taurus also, which is important. And how it works. I think he doesn't use this illustration. I think the other guy I mentioned here, not Stan, but the authors mentioned something to do with what I call tornado and how it is a Taurus. So, yeah, I was just talking about Arthur Young was using he had a example of almost something similar to Stan Tennant. I don't know if he got that at work, got that information, but he used colors and used what he called a Taurus also.
Yeah, that comes from a mathematical problem of mapping. It's called mapping. So the idea is that if you have a globe, you want to represent different countries of the planet in different colors. You want to show that they're distinct.
Yeah, I follow that. Correct. Yeah.
What is the minimum number of colors you need to make sure that every country is distinct from every other country and has a different color? It turns out you just need 4 colors. So if you go into what's called discrete mathematics, where we use points and lines, and we join points with lines,
right?
There's an idea. If you want everything to be neat and tidy, if you want to join 7 points together, it's actually impossible. It's impossible to join them together without crossing lines over. You can't cross any lines. Every point has to have the same status. Therefore, no line connecting 2 points can be crossing over any other line.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So the idea there is that you're giving all 7 points exactly the same status, and when you draw 7 points together and you want to connect them with connecting lines, you have to put them on a donut, a surface of a donut, to give them each one of them the same status. It's the only surface where it works, and you can now join every single point to every other point without crossing any lines at all. So every point is directly connected to every other point. I'll show you.
he was doing something in one of his videos that actually was points on a circle, and then he was using it to connect with other lines to each other, and it would eventually lead to a triangle.
Yeah.
So there was triangles. Okay.
Here's 6 points, 7 points.
Right.
There's a point in the center. I've connected this point in the center to every other point directly.
Yes, he did something. Yes, correct. Right. That's the torque.
Right. What if I want to make this point connect to every other point, all other 6 points, in the same way without any lines crossing? Well, what you have to do is cut it out. You have to create a boundary. You create a boundary, which is a square.
Okay.
Okay. And now I fold that round and I join the 2 ends together and I make a tube.
Right. Right.
And I bend that round and I join the other 2 ends together and I make a donut. And now all 7 points can be connected to all other 7 points. So you end up with this. You end up with it looking like that.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Right. Okay.
So a line coming up here will actually come out up here.
Right.
I'm connecting those two edges together.
Correct. Right.
And I make a donut. So you now have 7 points equally distributed on the surface of a donut.
Right.
And those 7 points in this logical framework are literally applicable to the 7 kingdoms.
Which was what he was doing on his graph type of thing.
That's right.
I call it graph, but just from starting from the seed all the way down back up to the human being.
Yeah, so we're defining the logic behind biblical material.
Right, right. That's what's being said here in the Bible is speaking of something far more deeper than we realize, and that's what eventually what we're coming up to. Yes, the 7 is it's in the Bible. What does it mean, such and such?
The 7 spirits of God. That's right. The 7 spirits of God is the ultimate. 7.
Right.
That's right.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I got a lot of logic out of these people. When I was looking at scripture, and I realized there was a logic behind it, and that they do represent truth somehow. And if you extrapolate, you can see there's only one destination. There's only one goal for all of it. Right. And that goal is simply the truth.
Right.
So this idea of thinking, well, instead of looking at the ground during my life, I'm going to look up to the horizon and think to myself, what is the ultimate point? What is the ultimate thing I can use my life for? What's the best thing I can do with my life?
Right.
Well, finding the truth is the best thing I can do because no one seems to bleed and know it.
Right.
So that's a good starting point.
Yeah, I was far more than I aspirated when I was your age. I was looking at something else. I wasn't looking at. I was wanting to change the world politically. Political science, and found that didn't take long for me to realize that it ain't gonna. That's not gonna happen. So but you live and learn. So. I have someone just commented here, Sir Bristol. Thanks to you both for this exceptional conversation today. A lot of brilliant truths to be reflected upon. He didn't answer the question, just said that. So these illustrations with the Bible is that the people struggle with the literal interpretation, so they still believe. I've dealt with them, on Facebook and just conversing a little bit. They still struggle with, the idea that simply that the world was flooded, and I'm like, well, why would God flood the world? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. Well, there were bad people. Well, wait a minute. But why would God choose to destroy what He made? Or, quote unquote, cause damage, killing other people. In other words, that would go against who His character is, wouldn't it? Because God's not out here going to hit you on the head, boy. You're going to get your act together, that type of thing. I'm going to blow you away. I'm going to blast you. This is the connotation that people are coming in is thinking that's what God can do. And I'm like, no. God has his own boundaries of who he is, and he's not going to do that.
Yeah, the
He
people
will never do that. That would be never a consideration because that's not logical. If he's God, and I explained this another thing simply is that with Christians, they say that the people, the only people who are going to go to heaven are such and such Christians and the people of the Israel, his favorite, his chosen people. And I'm like, wait a minute. God doesn't choose a favorite person. That would make him simply biased. That would go against the context of what God is. Why would God choose?
You're talking about a chosen race specifically.
Right, a race. Why would God choose?
When you ascend, you're referred to as a chosen one because God has chosen you, but that's just a figure of speech.
Right, right. But what I'm trying to point out simply is on the literal term such and such with those that think that simply is that God would choose the people of Israel as his people. Israel is not what we think. Also, it's another thing. We think it's a group of people when Israel, or I think you explained, or you said something to me, a Jew is one who's aspiring to ascend. Is that correct?
Technically, I am a Jew now, and I wasn't
born
a Jew.
But I'm not.
See,
because I have not ascended.
A Jew is an angel. It's just it's just a way of referring to an angel.
Okay. So I was assuming that simply what I grasped was simply is that a Jew is one who was seeking truth and pursuing it as a mystery school, so to speak. And you're saying simply a Jew is one who is already ascended.
Yeah, a Jew is an ascended person. It's an angel. So if you're looking for ascension, you can call yourself Jewish already because that is you're looking to the horizon, you're looking for truth. And
like that man is looking at the in the picture of the artwork, actually pointing to his head.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking he put his head, but that's not that. It's actually pointing to his head because it all takes place in his head, such and such. I was wrong on that one. Sorry.
So Judaism is the study that allows you to become an angel or enlightened, as it were. It's enlightenment training, initiation, as it were. There's an awful lot to say. People who say that I'm Jewish and I'm Jewish because of my mother's lineage, that's not what a Jew is, I'm afraid.
That's a literal interpretation of what I'm a German because I came from Hamburg, my family. So
So they say the Messiah has to be in the bloodline of King David,
right?
And pretty much every Jew and Christian will say, well, that's a physical bloodline, and there was some guy in the past called David who was a king of Israel or whatever, and he was a Messiah. And if you're in his bloodline, then you can be a Messiah because that's the only one that's going to produce a Messiah. This is the kind of bullshit that people actually believe. It's utter nonsense. The bloodline of David is nothing more than the blood of the Lamb when you're an ascended person and you receive the cloud of heaven that is bleeding in your head as a slain lamb. That blood is the blood of the royal bloodline.
So that is a symbol that's actually revealed even in churches when you see it is the lamb, actually the bleeding lamb, and you also see a lamb with a quote unquote a cross or a crown.
Yeah, it is your crown. The cloud of heaven
that's
crowns your physical body. It's the crown of your body, and it's also another thing that people don't understand is that the Messiah bloodline, that is, the royal blood of David, that is this blood of the Lamb from being ascended and illuminated. That object is also considered to be a source of water. It's referred to as the waters of life, or the great fountain. The white fountain is one of its names. The white fountain. And as such, of course, water has the color blue. And you have to ask yourself, why is royal blood blue? Because it's referring to the blood of the Lamb, which is the waters of life. You become royalty when you ascend. And so royal people wear a blue sash around them.
Right.
Yeah, because royal blood is blue.
Correct.
Because it's referring to the waters of life, and water is blue. So you're of the blood of David because you're an ascended angel.
But even in reality, our blood is blue inside us until we actually reveal it and open up to the air, and it becomes red. Is that correct?
Oxygenation. Yeah, that's just oxygenation, though. It's not
Right.
a reference to the fact that your unoxygenated blood is blue. It's nothing to do with that.
Okay. That's okay. That's why I want to make sure. But
royal blood is blue because it's the waters of life. Yeah.
But I guess what I'm trying to explain to you is simply there was no real person David. There was no temple of Solomon's temple, which they are supposedly still looking for. There's a way it's shown now, the architecture such and such, revealing something there, is what I understand. The Holy of Holies, the inner such and such, and I believe that's all demonstrating what I would call something spiritual.
Yeah, they just built. They're literally replicating your physical body. Take these
right,
temples.
Simply to the body, the same thing the Egyptians did.
Yeah, that's it. That's right. Every temple is your body, basically. Apart from,
and we also know simply is that, and what I've been reading from Alvin Boyd Kuhn is, in a way, simply is that there's certain three characters that are revealed that are the Trinity in Egypt, that are the Trinity that's taken on today. In other words, to do with Jesus, God, and the Holy Spirit, but also to do with Jesus, Joseph, and Mary, so to speak.
Yeah, Father, Mother, and Child is a basic expression of the basic Trinity, the metaphysical Trinity. Yeah. By the way, just to let anyone know, even though David was not an actual person in history, King David is the creator, by the way, just to let you know.
The creator.
That's why it's his bloodline. It's King David's bloodline. Yeah, the blood of the Lamb, because he's the creator. For goodness sakes, why is this not known? I don't understand. Why
I never heard of that. I never knew that.
It's so easy. It's so obvious and easy. If they just ask me, I'll explain it all to them. But no one asks.
Well, I'm asking. I'm asking because I was thinking when you said. I never even thought about that. I just saw King David is the creator.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's just another example of, it's just an illustration of who God is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like personifying something. It's the same with Adam. Adam in the Genesis story is also the creator. Right.
Okay.
He's not a person, he's a creator.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to get my head around here, such and such, because it's like, okay, so there are people who are looking at Scripture. The same thing with Lot and his wife, that she turned into a pillar of salt when she looked back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what is that revealing? Pardon me?
Yeah, when she turns around. Yeah.
Right. When she turns around, something happens because the longing for the past is what I guess.
No. It's a metaphor. It's a language of branches again. It's Lot's wife, who is a female. When you ascend, you are from the universe, and you are the female in the ascension moment. And the cloud is the male. So the cloud is Adam, and you are Eve. And that is the start of time, the root of time. This is a T0 moment that generates the universe. So it's Garden of Eden.
Okay. So reality, these are many, you said before.
Sorry, I beg your pardon. I just need to explain.
It's okay.
Lot's wife. Lot's wife is a female, and when she turns around, it's like you turning around in the abyss to see the pillar of salt.
Yes, you suddenly realize, right, like it happened to you.
Turning into a pillar of salt is a kind of a squashed way of saying that someone has ascended, and it's like they've died. It's the same as death. So apparently Lot's wife has died in this moment, but she hasn't really. It's just a way of talking about ascension.
So everybody sees the other, that she's being judged by God. So she turned back, as I was just saying to you, looking back to what she was, quote unquote, missing. Yeah. We're told, and that's not true.
No. There's no people. There were no people like that.
No, I know there was no people, but I thought it might have a story there that's what revealing such and such. Yeah. I'm seeing. Yeah, this is amazing how that these stories that are taught in the Bible, we're looking at them literally, and we're actually, as I'm just saying myself saying simply is falling. In other words, meaning tripping over this and thinking it's somewhat literal. and I know it's not. But this, you got to deal with. You're dealing with this whole premise in your mind. Simply that your whole background for over 45 years of my life was seeing these things in a literal interpretation, and that's they become what I would call a stumbling block. For all of us, you see, because it is a stumbling block.
Yeah, Sodom and Gomorrah are nothing more than your brain lobes. That's what they are. They're your brain lobes. They're the physical part of your brain that is going to be destroyed. Their separation is going to be destroyed by God.
And become one.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. All the bad people are destroyed.
So they psychologically back then, or somewhat psychologically.
Say again, sorry.
I'm sorry, I keep overrunning. I don't mean to do that.
No,
just right. Trying to remember. So the deal with Sodom and Gomorrah, they're still lurking. They're still looking for it. They're looking for physical attributes of this.
Yeah, forget that. It's complete rubbish.
I know it is.
Waste of time.
I know that is because I remember reading it. But anyway, so it's dealing with what I call psychological parts of your. They knew this stuff long ago to do with your brain. Correct.
Yeah, so God destroying all those people that are doing bad things is nothing more than referring to the fact that you were not spiritual before you ascended, and your thoughts were like that. You had physical-oriented thoughts because you didn't know what spirit was. Now you're ascending, all that's going to be destroyed.
Right. So that's what's going. Okay. So this is okay. All right. So. Again, these are, and you talk about this. You said that the Jews in the Old Testament, but they're repeating the same story over and over. It's just different characters.
Yeah, the book of Exodus is one scene, the T0 scene of the Garden of Eden, literally repeated over and over again from start to finish.
Right.
And because of that, the book of Exodus is a great exponent of the language of branches. It's a good way to learn about the language of branches through Exodus.
Okay.
You can see the multitude of associations with that simple scene, in the Eden, the cloud, you, the abyss, God. There it is. That's the book of Exodus in a nutshell.
Lot still I got to learn. But I think go ahead.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Carry on. I just want
so I'm going to ask you a question, and I think we've talked about this a little bit briefly to do with, what took place with you at Anchor Wat. We've already talked about that, but it is not necessary. I want to get this clear for people who cannot go to Cambodia or go some special place. They don't need to go to any special place for this to happen, your ascension.
No. These places help. They help you. That's all. But you don't need them as such. Yeah.
I'm going to ask a question then. You told me in England that I think you stated that most of the churches, if not all churches, are laid down. They're all on ley lines. Is that correct?
That's right. They're on ley line crossings. Yeah, that's right.
Right.
All of them.
So there's actually even that those churches could have effect upon you. Is that correct? Spiritually.
That's right. It's a vertical rotating magnetic field basically that has a lovely effect on the human being. That's all. It helps you.
Right.
It's much easier to find samadhi and find peace and absolute stillness when you're already in that state, in a very calm, relaxed state. If I've just run a marathon and I walk into a church and expect to go into samadhi in 5 seconds, it's not going to happen.
It's going to happen. No. Right.
Yeah. So it just puts you in that state. It readies you for it. That's all.
Will you give the audience the definition of what samadhi is, so that people will understand? Because I want people to make sure that there are people who think they've claimed they've had samadhi, but have not. As far as I could tell, their life is not. Go ahead.
Sorry, I beg your pardon. Just to say, samadhi. Anyone can have samadhi. It's not a big deal. You don't need any brains to have samadhi either. You don't even need to be intelligent. It's what you do with samadhi that's important. So a lot of people who have samadhi will come out, and I've seen them. I've watched them on YouTube. There's plenty of them. They say, I had samadhi. It was fantastic. You know, I had an encounter with God. We had a little conversation, or he told me this, and I found out that, and blah, blah, blah. And they came back, and there they are crying. They're crying. Well, they're telling you these things. They're just sitting there crying, because that's the effect it has on you. It makes you cry. But samadhi, effectively, without giving a definition, because I don't think there is a definition.
There isn't.
It's referred to as a sacred trance, and the idea is that, like a shaman, whatever you look at, you kind of become in your mind. If I'm watching a movie, I'm in the movie.
Right, you're in the movie. Right,
you can feel.
You're feeling what the characters are doing, or actors.
Yeah, you can feel their pain. You know, you empathize with them. All this sort of thing. It's exactly the same with samadhi, but samadhi cuts out all drama and gives you just perfect stillness. So you can go into samadhi by staring at a statue, because the statue is perfectly still. And what you're doing is becoming that stillness mentally. So by looking at it, by appreciating it, you are literally becoming it. And you become still. You become stillness. Your awareness becomes absolutely still. And that awareness changes everything.
You called, I think you said simply, it called you something, maybe I'm wrong. You slipped. Is that what you said? Something slipped in your head, you said?
That was with ascension. That was 5 days later, while I was still in the, because once you find stillness in samadhi, you'll be in that state for quite a while afterwards, because it's very.
You said powerful. You had blitz. You were in that blitz moment too.
Bliss. Yeah, when you become that stillness, you become bliss. Yeah. Bliss is in stillness, yeah. And then 5 days later, without going through all the details, the moment I understood that in fact, I'm going to show you a graphic. Can we share my screen on this thing? Is that possible?
I think we had I don't know how to do it. I don't know.
Here we go. Hang on.
You know how to do
Share screen. I've got it. Share screen. Okay, tell me if you're going to see my screen. Hang on, let me get my glasses on for this. Okay, what's this? Oh, I see. Or entire screen. I'll go for the entire screen. Okay.
I don't know if it'll do it, because I've tried to play with it a couple times and I can't figure out.
Okay,
I see something now. I see this is the thing you shared to. Okay, it said add to stage. Okay, so this is being shown publicly now. So this is the graph that you sent to me a few days ago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see that graphic. It says realization at the top.
Right.
Okay. So what you've got here on the left-hand side is what you normally appreciate about reality. In other words, there's you, the observer, there's you, the individual, and you're surrounded by physical reality. Yeah, the rest of the cosmos. Yeah, obviously, the planetary environment you're on, and the rest of the cosmos beyond that. So you have a yin-yang relationship between observation, the observer, and what they observe.
Correct.
In that status, you think, if you can establish that you are a spirit in a body, as far as you know, there is a total separation between those two, and they're complete opposites and completely different. Yeah.
Yes.
You cannot see at the moment how they are one and the same.
Right. You cannot see, because you see the two different. Right. Go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry. How can they possibly be one and the same if they're exact opposites?
Well, it's the same thing. I think you gave the illustration of devil and God, that we have this whole epitome of seeing the opposites. So we see something what we call evil and good. Is that what you're explaining somewhat?
No, not really. It's a different kind of problem.
Okay.
This issue about the observer being spirit and what they observe being physical suggests that the observer and what they observe are always going to be separate ideas, and they'll never join together. They'll never be one and the same thing. They'll always be opposites and remain ever so.
Right.
It's not actually true. So what is spiritual initially creates what is physical by generating the universe. And what is physical, when you become a physical being in the universe, you are supposed to regenerate yourself as spirit and be born from your physical body into the spiritual realm, which is the abyss with the cloud. Right. The abyss and the cloud is where what is spiritual, the observer, the nature of the observer, and what is physical, the things that they observe in life, become one and exactly the same thing. That cloud is made as a physical object by a spiritual expansion.
Right.
So it is both physical and spiritual at once. Its presence is spiritual, but its form and shape is a physical quality. Right. So that T0 moment is the point at which what is spiritual becomes what is physical, because the universe is generated from that spiritual condition. And it's also the opposite. It's also the place where what is physical becomes what is spiritual in personal ascension.
So it's like a reverse type of thing. In other words,
yeah. So they each give birth to each other. So what is physical gives birth to what's spiritual, and what's spiritual gives birth to what's physical. In this sense.
Oh, okay.
Technically, it's not quite like that, because you are always a spiritual entity in the physical body. It's an impersonal system, and all you have to realize is that one goes to the other. So what is physical in the end becomes again what is spiritual through your experience of ascension. You come from the physical world, you enter the spiritual world. When you're born, you come from the spiritual world and you enter the physical world.
Right. Okay, I follow it. Okay.
And both of these opposites, the physical and the spiritual, are literally the same thing in opposite states at the same time, because they're in a cycle. That is a cycle where they both work with each other.
Right.
They retain their own characteristics, but you go from one to the other. And the idea is, in your realization that opens the inner gate to illumination, is that all is simply God. God is everything there is. God becomes all the physical stuff. And the physical stuff then becomes God, ultimately. It goes back to God once it's developed, and the spiritual observer has gone through its process and seen everything that it has to offer. That observer goes back to God, as it were, becomes God.
Right.
About that. So really the realization I'm trying to convey to you is that there are not two separate opposites in operation in reality. There is one and the same thing. It's just one process that has two aspects that work together. And that realization gives you this continuity, this sense of continuity. And that continuity is a cycle, and that cycle can be shrunk down to a point, or it can be expanded out to an infinite expanse. There's the concept of a circle where you need geometric understanding to appreciate how it can be everything. All circles can be, it's just one circle, but the size of the circle depends on you, the observer, if you see what I mean. So there's always this relationship between the observer and what's observed. When they become one and the same in your mind, when they all become God at the moment of your ascension, you realize that there is a cycle involved. That spirit becomes matter, becomes spirit, becomes matter, becomes spirit. That
is this similar to what we call Zen, somewhat, or not?
No, it's got nothing to do with Zen. It's got nothing to do with Zen.
I want to clarify that, because that's what popped in my mind, because they would talk about the observer and the observed back and forth, such and such, and that's what I. Go ahead.
I mean, just to say, Zen is literally just the being. Your being is naturally Zen. If you start adding to it, if you start getting addicted to things, you are changing your state of appreciation of your own being. And Zen is when you stop doing all that and you just shut up and you just be, and you just potter along. You do things that you need to do. You don't think. You're not thinking about anything as such. You're just being. That's Zen. The art of the Zen of motorbike mechanics. You know what you're doing. You don't have to think about it. You're just doing it, and you're happy in the moment.
Yeah. What was that book by? Is it Nietzsche?
Nietzsche, yeah.
Nietzsche. Right. Was that the one? That's.
I don't think so. Nietzsche is a terrible. I think he's a nihilist or something. They call.
Well,
he sees no point.
There'll be okay. I'm sorry. The book is called Zen and the Motorcycle, something of that nature. I think the book is called.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And I just suddenly thought him in my mind, such and such. Okay.
So Zen is more like the first key to heaven, which is a samadhi where you don't think. You're not thinking, you
right.
speak. Yeah. You're not thinking about anything. The second key is you understanding and thinking and contemplating the nature of
which is
how.
the two keys you always illustrate too.
Say again?
The two keys of the Roman Catholic Church, the silver and the gold, they're revealing the two steps, so to speak.
That's right. That's right. This is well known. These two issues are well known. The golden key goes here, and it refers to samadhi, and it's in your heart because you fall in love with God in samadhi. You literally fall in love with God, and that's what it's all about. It's all about falling in love with God and being with God, and because of that, you unify and you know who God is and what God is, etc. And now you're going to understand it. And so the silver key is when you understand.
Yes, a contemplation. You begin to see, why does this happen? Why did God choose me at this point, such and such? Or what?
Oh, you won't think about that. You won't bother thinking about that. You'll be thinking, how come God is everything? How come there's a physical world? And yet I've just met God, and I know from meeting God that this physical world is way less than God. God is everything. How come?
Right.
You need to understand that. Where's this physical world from? Oh, I see. It's produced by the spiritual process, and the spiritual process, the physical process, produces a spiritual process, which produces a physical process.
Okay. So it's a revolving door, so to speak, as you go. Right. Yeah. Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
So you realize it's a cycle, and therefore there's only one cycle. So all is one, and that's the realization that opens your ascension moment. Yeah.
It's almost a deal with like a dryer, so to speak. It just keeps revolving, so to speak. I know it's a bad analogy, but it just keeps revolving.
Yeah. Same idea. Yeah, it just looks different when you look at it that way, and you turn around and look at it that way. That way it looks physical. That way it looks spiritual. But they're one and the same.
One and the same.
Yeah. In two different states at the same time. Yeah.
Which is revealing something. That's what we should be, or we are both of those states.
Yeah. We are the spiritual observer in the physical body. Yeah, so we literally both at once. Yeah.
Right.
Like yin and yang. You are yin and yang at the same time.
Right.
Only you're above your physical body. You're more than your physical body. It's just a tool that you're using to generate this cloud for yourself, so you have a permanent home in the spiritual sense. Otherwise, you're lost. You're roaming.
Correct.
Where are you? Who are you? What are you doing?
Right.
You don't mean anything. If you're lost, you have no meaning.
That's true. You don't have any meaning. All right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's amazing. I didn't think about that as well. That's a pretty strong statement. You don't have any meaning because simply as you haven't come to the truth.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and people think there is no such thing. There is no meaning to life because it's all just physical. No. The meaning is the spiritual, the inner part. The physical is just a means to that end. Therefore, the physical nature doesn't mean anything by itself as such.
But it's just like a vehicle. The body is a vehicle. It takes you somewhere and such and such. So it's just a vehicle, and it's just a vehicle. Right. So it's just an apparatus that basically helps you to. But you still have to take care of it. In other words, if you don't eat or take care of yourself, you won't live as long, so to speak. Whatever. In that context, so you want to take care of the body in order for you to ensure that you come to spiritual ascension. Also, see, so it's important. You just can't go out here and throw your life away and take drugs and do morbid things that you're basically trying to kill yourself, because you won't get to that stage to the point you need to.
You won't benefit from it. You certainly won't benefit from it. Yeah, that's right. No. It takes time for people to realize that, though, because they have gratification in the moment, and then they think, well, that's good enough for me, and they carry on in such a fashion. But later on they realize that they're literally just wasting their time with short-term thinking.
Yes, right. There's I've come across with people who make statements on in a way to deal with what I call sex itself. Having sex with someone is gratification. It makes everything worthwhile. And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. that was a very short duration. Is that all? Okay. I'm not trying to be smart. I'm just saying, is that all? Because basically, simply is you had. It's like having ice cream. I'm just giving an analogy here. Having ice cream for a couple of minutes, such and such, and you feel wonderful, and then suddenly the feeling's gone. Mm-hmm. You see, I enjoy that ice cream. I love strawberry ice cream, such and such. But the point simply, once it's gone, it's gone. It's limited. It's short. And so many people are, in a lot of ways, are looking for the gratification of just that particular moment in someone's life. And it reveals simply that it's not self-sustaining. It doesn't have a longitude. It's just a short duration.
Yeah. And interesting.
It's like a vapor. It's like a vapor, so to speak. I'm not saying anything bad about it. I'm just saying that people are they're putting this on a pedestal and saying, well, I want to have such and such great sex. Well, okay, but you're going to live together, and you're going to have to, get along with together. Well, that's not going to happen either. You see, so you're putting all your candles, not your candles, but all you're putting all your, whatever you call it. Lost my mind.
Eggs in one basket, as it were.
Yes. Sorry.
I was going to say these gratifying moments we have in life. It's very interesting when you compare to the meeting with God when you have samadhi and ascension. What you actually have with that is total gratification and satisfaction for the rest of your existence that people don't realize.
So it's complete. It's complete. It's complete. Meaning that simply is that you don't. It's self-sustaining. It's it's eternal. Yeah.
You are fully satisfied from that moment on. You never need extra to.
And that's why the scripture says that you will not long for food. Scripture says that I gotta continue. I gotta gratify not my body. Well, eating such and such a food, meaning simply is that you have to eat food again. But this is that simply is complete. Is self-satisfying, and it's
it's kind of saying you don't need.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, I beg your pardon. It's just saying that you don't need any more intellectual food because you're going to be fed from within now. Like I said, it connects you to your subconscious mind that knows everything. So all that information is going to come through to you. You don't need external sources anymore. I don't need to go to a priest. I don't need to consult a philosopher. I don't need to read the Bible. It's all on board now. Yeah, it's all on board.
Right.
You just eat normal food, of course. You can't sustain your physical life without it.
Right. But I mean, but what it means simply is that it's like the fountain of youth that there are many people looking for. They give illustrations such and such, meaning that what I've been looking for all my life, I finally found it, and it's self-sustaining. I don't have to pursue it anymore. It's here. It's right here.
Yeah, because the truth is eternal and it will never disappear. Therefore, you just have to go and find it because it's always there. Yeah, yeah. Right. And it is self-sustaining because the truth is always true.
Yes.
It's all. Yeah, very simple in a way.
I'll
better go and
I was going to think this because we've been talking for a while, so we've been over almost 2.5 hours. So my voice is starting to get dry. So go ahead and laugh because I do talk a lot sometimes. But I was just because I know it's never. I want you to know, Phil. I know I interject. It's just simply some idea comes in my head, and just this idea. I said I want to speak it out, so to speak, or ask the question. It's never meant to. Sometimes I might go across you. I don't mean to do that.
No, I totally get that. At the time, isn't it? Because if you're saying something long, you're going to make 3 different points in that process, and there's the second one you want to comment on. I need to stop so we can talk about that first before going on. I totally understand that. That's normal.
Well, I think the other thing simply is for me is that just be straightforward with you is that I don't have anybody else to talk about these deeper subjects like this. Right. So there's the reason why I'm like a child somewhat, and I got to say something, I don't.
Yeah. Yeah,
I got to get this, I got to vent it, some way, share it out and say, okay, this is something because I don't know anybody else to talk to about this.
that's right. That's right.
I don't have anybody to talk to about this. If I talk to people, I share things, they look at me and they scratch their head and like, okay, something's wrong with you. No, nothing's wrong with me. I just need to, but most people don't get it. So that's okay. I'm not angry with them, but it's just like for me, simply is that it's like a dictionary or encyclopedia. I don't know if that's a good word, but I can ask questions and have a better idea of understanding those things, so to speak.
Yeah, the literal nature of it is very important to realize how simple the literal nature of these things are, because all this language is very flowery.
Yes.
It can put your head in the clouds in 2 seconds, all this sort of thing. Or the biblical talk can put someone's head in the clouds in 5 seconds. It's such a strange nature, the way it's written, all this stuff. Nobody talks like that.
No,
nobody.
Nobody talks like that. And probably no one talked like that thousands and thousands of years ago, for sure.
That's right. It's a mode of writing, that nobody talks like that. It's just a way of writing things down.
Right.
That's all.
Okay. Okay. As I'm going to ask you something, has your kitty cat, has he come by there and see you anymore?
No, he was here this morning. Yeah, he's always here. Yeah. Looking for extras.
He's got it all figured out, hasn't he? He's he's a smart cat, isn't he?
Oh, yeah, he is. Yeah, he's got like 4 or 5 different people that he goes to on the round.
Okay, it's time for me to go to his house and later. So catch you then. So, but does he have a name or she have a name?
Yeah, it's Simba.
Okay.
Simba, as in the Lion King, because he looks exactly like a lion. Just a lioness.
Okay.
It's just like a lion. Yeah, same.
Okay. When is another good time to get with you?
Where are we? Well, my hours at work have changed. I'm doing the same hours, but in less time, in less days. So I do Friday, Saturday, Sunday as a big sort of chunky weekend of nothing but going to work, and the rest of the week I've actually got off apart from Wednesday and Friday. A little bit on Friday afternoon. That's all. Okay. So Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, I'm always free from now on. So any time really, and I've got very little to do in general, to be honest.
Are you doing any more writing at this time?
Oh yeah. I'm doing a technical book and a religious book at the same time.
Okay. What do you mean by technical and religious book? Explain.
The religious one is going to go through major scripture. Like I'm going to do a book only on the Gospel of John.
Okay.
There's so many chapters and stuff to cover. You can only that's a whole book.
Right.
Just gospel,
Right.
But then the language of branches, I need to explain in full and show example after example, so you can see. Okay, it becomes redundant. And the technical book is all about physics, and it's very similar to the Arthur Young Geometry of Meaning book.
Okay.
Similar to that, but really, I'm just sort of rounding up physics in it to show how the content of the religious content is actually saying the same thing as physicists and astrophysics. It's all the same stuff. So
one time, I want to ask this question. You would think about it. We're not going to go. But what's the difference in physics and metaphysics? In some way, we can talk about that maybe next time we get together.
Yeah. Well, physics is the nature of the physical world.
And metaphysics to do with the spiritual world.
To do with energy, and metaphysics is above that or beyond that, which means the spiritual nature. So yeah, metaphysics is nothing but spiritual nature. Physics is the cosmos.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So are you busy this week, or I got to work tomorrow, so that's not going to work. But I didn't know you said. But that's up to you. I know we talked. I don't want to burn you out.
No, that's okay. What you're doing next week, I think I'm covering somebody next week, so I might be not available. But this Thursday I'm free. I won't know until I get my rota. I get my rota on Saturday. It's per week, every week.
Okay. So you have a different schedule. You're telling me there's a possibility that could change.
Only next week, I think I've got a different schedule because I need to cover somebody who's going away for a week or something.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly, but I think it's next week. It might be the week after, but I'll let you know. But I'm free on Thursday if you want to do something then. But
yeah, we can, Thursday, same time, or you want to do it a little later?
Anytime will do, to be honest.
Let's do it. Go ahead.
Got no visitors on Thursday, so it can be anytime.
Okay, we'll just stick with 9 o'clock.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
That'd be your time, 2 o'clock.
Yeah, 2 p.m. for us in England. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I appreciate you taking the time with me.
That's right.
This book here is a lot more deeper, and I mean, I've watched the video, some of his stuff, but this is a pretty deep book, in my opinion.
Yeah. There's some pretty philosophical, mathematical stuff going on.
It is. Yeah, it's got a lot of graphs in here, such and such. It also, I think, either Arthur Young had some of these things. He got this from Stan, or either Stan got it from him, or either both of them came up with the same ideas or somewhat, I guess.
It's from Arthur Young.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I was wondering. I don't know if it says it in here, but I'm sure it does. So, but this is, as far as I know, this. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I beg your pardon. I was just going to say Stan Tenen wanted a logical explanation for the Jewish tradition. And that's why he went to Arthur Young to see if they combined and were compatible, and they were.
Yeah, I noticed that when Arthur talked about a torus and he started using different color like a donut, he called it a torus. But I realized, I thought, well, did he get that idea from Stan, or did Stan get it from him, or whatever? I don't know. But I'm surprised I actually found this book. This book is no longer in print.
Right.
But I would suggest, I want to say one more quick thing, and then I'll let it stop. There is a way of finding some of these books that are no longer in print. It's a website called PDF Drive, as Paul David Frank Drive, and you can research. You can type in the author name or either the title of the book, and I have found almost all of Alvin Boyce Kuhn's books on there, plus Gerald Massey's works there. And if they're not, there's over, I think there's like 80 or 90 million books on this particular site. So it's even more than archive.org, which is another one you can look up, and they have some of that works on. But you can download this book on PDF Drive. You can download the book and put it on your computer, and then you can read it later on. So you don't have to read it always online. You can keep a copy of it in a PDF file, and then you can read it. Archive.org is a little different. They kind of want to keep you with a time vision sometimes and say, well, you can loan this book out for 14 days. But the other advantage is simply with archive.org is that you can put it on speaker and someone will, read the book to you, so to speak. If you are doing things of such and such, you can still, if you can't just sit at the computer. So I just want to tell the audience that, because I think it's important that people can read this, because some of these books are no longer available. Period.
That's right. Yeah.
So,
sure. Yeah.
Okay, so that's how I got the book with Budge also. I checked it out, but then I simply found it here and just downloaded it so I can read it. But I'll be honest with you, Phil, I have many books to read.
Yes.
I only have one mind, but I have these books here I just told you about, but also simply is that I've got other books such and such, and I'm always, I have time, but you, in other words, you have to digest these books, so to speak, too. So, but anyway, I appreciate you very much. And it's good to see you for a change. It looks like I don't see any gray hairs on you anymore. I mean, you ain't got gray hairs yet. So,
yeah.
But thank you. And we'll see you Thursday this week.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Will do. All right. Okay. Thank you very much, Brian. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for anyone listening as well. Thank you.
Sure. You're welcome. Thank you.